Hi everyone, it's Carrie Cudney back to show you how to put together square number 2 in the Every Last Detail photo frame. This square is probably my favorite. I love the banner garland trend, and there's just a lot of cute little details. The products that I want to highlight today are Crystal Effects and Dazzling Details. So I also have a few fun tricks to show you with the Blossom Bouquet triple layer punch. So let's get started. We're actually going to use Dazzling Details first because it takes a few minutes to dry. So I ahead of time have punched out of Calypso Coral cardstock a flower from the triple bouquet punch, and you want to punch out the large solid flower right here. Put your dial all the way to the side. And then we're just going to use the Dazzling Details to trace around the border, right around the outside. I'm having so much fun with Dazzling Details. It's such a fun product. It's really economically priced. It's only $2.50 and it goes a long way. I've been using the same bottle forever. You don't need to shake it before you start using it. It's like the glitter and glue all in one, and so it's a fun, easy way to get a lot of sparkle on your projects. You can see I just went around the outside. The fine tip applicator makes it really great to get, you know, just a fine line or little details, highlight little pieces of your project. And it's acid-free and non-toxic, so it's safe to use in your scrapbooks. And one of my favorite things about it is since the glitter is totally coated with the adhesive, the sparkle won't rub off. So that sparkle will stay on your project forever. But it does take a few minutes to dry, like I said. So now I'm going to set this piece aside and give it a few minutes to dry. Like I mentioned, the other product that we're going to be using is Crystal Effects. So that's the next piece that I want to do. And I'm going to cut out or punch out the straight edge pennant. And I wanted a polka dot background, so I used the border piece from my Borderline stamp set, the polka dot border, and I stamped it twice already so that I would be all ready to punch. This is very vanilla cardstock and Lucky Limeade ink. I'm just going to punch out my pennant. And like Dazzling Details, Crystal Effects is great to highlight small areas. It's got the fine tip applicator. So I'm just going to kind of dot it on those polka dots. Crystal Effects is a dimensional adhesive that will give you a clear glass-like finish. So it's great to use when you want the detail, you want the shine, but maybe don't want the sparkle. And you can use a thin coat or a thick coat, depending on the look you want. It's water-soluble or water-based, so that means you can mix it with any of our other water-based products like dye-based inks or pastels or watercolors. There's lots of fun things you can try. I like to water down my Crystal Effects and just paint it on my projects almost like a lacquer finish. And it's also fun to mix in glitter and make your own sparkle paints. So lots of fun things you can do with Crystal Effects. I'm just going to kind of move this one aside as well to dry. And now we can just kind of, I'll bring this back in. We're just going to go flag by flag and show you how to put those together. So we'll start on this one, the fun little pennant piece. We pull these parts in. This is Pool Party Prince, the little polka dot. And I ahead of time have done this step, the little border with the dotted scallop ribbon punch, and then just a tiny strip of Daffodil Delight cardstock. And I'm just going to use my snips. And you can kind of use the polka dots on the paper as a pattern, and if it's not exactly perfect, it doesn't matter, just to kind of give you the angle in the bottom. And now we want the focal point in the middle, so I've used the stamp from the Best of Everything stamp set and stamped it on Lucky Limeade cardstock and Lucky Limeade ink, and I'm going to just cut out the flower part. And I've done that ahead of time. We'll put that right in the center. And then I've used my 4-petal punch from the Bitty Punch Pack and punched out a Calypso Coral flower. And we'll layer that on top. And when you're all done, your piece will look like this. I've added just a little bit of Dazzling Details to give it a little bit of sparkle, and then a tiny rhinestone in the center. So that's flag number 1. Flag number 2 is the flower that we've already done the Dazzling Details on the outside, but now we need a fun center on the flower. So I'm going to use Daffodil Delight cardstock, and I'm actually going to be using tea stain ink from the Distressing Toolkit. And we'll talk about the Distressing Toolkit with one of the later squares, but we are going to use the tea stain ink. This is another piece from the Best of Everything stamp set. And I'm going to ink up just the top part. I think this looks kind of like a dandelion. It kind of makes me want to blow all those little flowers into the wind. And to cut out my circle, I actually need to stamp this twice. I'm going to stamp it opposite ways. And then I've got lots of little flowers. It makes it look even more like a dandelion. And then I'm going to use my 3/4 inch punch, kind of position it where you've got a lot of flowers and texture. Maybe right there. And then you'll want to layer one of the designer brads, Lucky Limeade, and then just layer that on top of your flower. So there's flag number 2. Flag number 3 is our cute little pennant that we dotted with Crystal Effects. And ahead of time, I've done the ruffly part in Lucky Limeade, so we'll go ahead and layer that on. Now we're going to make a cute little rosette on the center of this one. So I'm actually going to put a little bit more Crystal Effects. This is going to be my adhesive, and I'm doing that first so it will dry for a minute before I put my little flower on. Now to make the flower, this is one of the little tricks with the triple layer punch. Punch out this flower with Daffodil Delight cardstock, and we're going to use the outline part. This part you can set aside and save to use on square number 3. We're not going to use it in this square. But then this part, I'm going to use my snips to snip it apart right in the middle of one of the scallops. And then I'm going to use the round tool from the Distressing Toolkit and kind of curl this around to make a rose bed. You want to get that center really tight, and then just keep pulling it around. It's going to make a cute little flower. And slide it off. You see how that looks like a little rose bed? And then I'm just going to set it in that puddle of Crystal Effects. You need to hold it down for a couple of minutes. Let it dry. The end is kind of sticking out, but you can use your tool to stick it down. Now we need some leaves, and so I've punched out a heart from the small heart punch and then cut the heart in half. So I have 2 little leaves. And I can kind of just stick those under the rosebud to be the leaves. You might have to work with it a little bit because that Crystal Effects, like I said, takes a minute to dry. But it will look like this when it's all done. And then again, we'll layer it on the pennant. So that's flag number 3. And then the last flag is a cute little ticket. You have your piece of Daffodil Delight cardstock, and I use the ticket corner punch to round off all the corners. If you don't have the ticket corner punch, you can also use your pennant punch by just sliding it in that ruffly pennant and just snipping out the corners like this. So a couple different options there. Now to make it look like a ticket, tickets have little perforations around the outside, those dotted lines. And so I'm going to bring in this stamp, the same one that we already used with the tea stain ink. And this time ink up the stem of the flower. And then take my ticket. It's easier to do it this way. You get straight lines and just kind of press the stem along the outside of the ticket. And that will give me kind of the dotted border, make it look like an old-fashioned circus ticket. Here's one that I've done all of the edges, and then I've just taken my tea stain ink and kind of rubbed it against the outside to distress the edges a little bit. And now the flower on this ticket, this flag, I'm again going to use my triple layer punch, and this time cut out the middle flower. And we're only going to use the solid part, and I punched it out of the Polka Dot Calypso Coral paper. And then after I punched it, I used my snips just to snip in maybe about 1/4 of an inch on each scallop, and that kind of creates a deeper petal like that. And then use your round tool again to kind of curl the petals back a little bit. It gives it more dimension, and again, it's one of those little details that make it more cute in the end. So after you do all the petals, it will look like this. And then to finish it, do one of the paper daisies with an old olive brad, and then that will go right in the center of your ticket. So those are the 4 pieces, and then you'll use Tombow adhesive just to adhere them to a piece of baker's twine. And you can see that I've attached my garland to the frame, not to the paper. I just put 2 little mini glue dots right on the frame and then attach the baker's twine. And I just used straight edges on my baker's twine, just like this, and then topped it with a little bow. Don't try to tie bows in your same piece. I like the way that it has both ends of the bow hanging down. So attach your garland first and then put a little bow in each corner. And that's how it will look when you're done. So thanks for joining me, and come back again to watch square number 3.